Hi, my dear friends. My name is Dr. Anna Brodsky. I'm a GP and I practice anthroposophic medicine privately. Today we're going to talk about the liver. Did you know that anthroposophic perspective gives us a knowledge that our liver is the seat of our etheric body and hence our vitality? Do you remember how in some previous videos I was talking about what we are made of from anthroposophic perspective? Is the physical body, etheric or energy body, soul or astral body, and the spirit, right? So every single organ has got a bit of everything in it. So, but the liver has got a very strong etheric body component. It's got very strong etheric force inside it. And science actually confirms it, because we know through science that if our liver is damaged or part of it is removed, in fact, up to 90% of the liver is removed, it can still regenerate itself. No other organ in the body can do that. And if our liver is damaged, basically, this is the end of our health. And of course, there are many ways to damage our liver. There's alcohol, there is weight gain. People don't realize that weight gain damages our liver, but basically when we drink and or gain weight, our liver becomes fatty. And once it is fatty, and if this progresses after a period of time, and nobody knows when, everybody's individual, liver starts becoming inflamed. Then it starts fibrosing, i.e. scars are forming in the liver. And at the end of this journey is liver cirrhosis. And with liver cirrhosis, liver is no longer functioning. It's not able to detoxify the body. It's not able to do the fluid balance, so we swell up. Essentially, our brain becomes flooded with toxins, we become unconscious and we die. It's not a nice death. And I forgot to mention, we also are jaundiced in the process. Rewind that story. So I was saying how fatty liver is very common. So statistically, it is estimated that every third person in the UK has got fatty liver. This is the beginning of liver damage. It's not quite the beginning, but it's obviously not the advanced stage yet, but it's on the lines of liver damage. Every third person. Now, the other reason why liver is important from an anthroposophic perspective is because it is the seat of our will forces. And to help you get an idea of what I mean, I'll give you some examples. You only have to use your imagination and just pure logic to follow me. So if you take an athlete, you already know that an athlete has got very highly functional will forces, because they're able to train their body every day with no fail. They achieve results, whether they play Olympic Games or whatever else they do. It is obvious that their will forces are really well trained, and let me assure you, they will not have a fatty liver. They might get a fatty liver when they retire and just change the occupation, stop training, and so on. It is possible. But generally speaking, an active athlete has a healthy liver. And if you compare somebody with type 2 diabetes, who cannot stop eating, they're getting overweight, they, on average, I'm generalizing, I'm making it look grotesque so that you just get the picture. And I know some people will be offended, but I accept as part of it, I suppose, but I don't mean to offend anybody. So if you take the most grotesque picture of somebody with diabetes, they eat a lot, they're not keen on exercising, and they're gaining weight anyway, their sugar is high, flooding their blood with, sugar is flooding the blood, and they're gaining weight, they're depositing fatty tissue, and the liver is becoming fatty. So if you look at the life of their will, they're finding it difficult to exercise. They're finding it difficult to eat less or eat different things. So this is where you can picture to yourself that health of the liver is directly linked with the health of our will life. And when you work with the will life, you also help the liver, and the other way around. When you help the liver, you also help our life of volition to be able to exercise our will out in the world. We need healthy livers. So now we're just going to talk a little bit about the usual things that we know that liver does. And then we're also going to talk about how to keep our livers healthy from the mainstream perspective and from anthroposophic perspective. So you already know that when we have eaten, all the blood from the bowel first goes to our liver. The liver first detoxifies it. This is pretty major function, which is so miraculous. We flood our body with toxins on a daily basis. Even if we have good lifestyle, there's still toxins. And leave alone those people who have alcohol as part of their daily routine, then there are way more toxins. So liver detoxifies. Liver also takes some of the nutrients, like some minerals and some fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin E, vitamin K, and it stores it, and it releases them later when the body needs those vitamins. It also stores B12, which is water-soluble vitamin, and it stores some minerals. And next, it takes all the sugar from the bowel, all the sugar that we're not using straight away for exercise or thinking or studying. So it takes all that sugar and it actually turns it into glycogen. Glycogen basically is like a really long molecule of sugar, molecules stuck all together in a chain and then nothing convoluted. And of course, liver will later release that sugar. It will break the glycogen when our body needs the sugar. So either when we are fasting or when we're exercising. So this is, the liver actually serves the body and it keeps an eye on what is needed and it releases that. The other functions of the liver include producing proteins. So, for example, albumin. Albumin is a major protein in the blood and it is responsible for our pressure, the pressure inside the blood, so that it keeps all the fluid inside the blood vessels. So without albumin, the fluid would diffuse out of the blood vessels, and one, our blood pressure would drop, and two, we would swell up. So albumin is really important. Another bunch of proteins that liver produces are clotting factors. Those are proteins that help our body make a clot whenever we are injured. Without the clotting factors, we would bleed out. And then we would be talking about hemophilias, for example. Liver also produces bile, which helps us digest foods, digest and absorb fat-soluble vitamins, which is very important. Now, let's briefly talk about the ways in which we can damage our liver. So I started off by talking about fatty liver. It is the biggest cause of liver problems, really. So because our population, especially in the West, we're sort of gaining weight on average. And I was saying at the beginning how in the UK, every third person is estimated to have fatty liver. And this is tragic. So this is why I'm doing this video, so that we can do something about it. So gaining weight. Second, drinking alcohol. It is a massive strain on the liver. A lot of people, a lot of my patients in the past have said, well, I feel fine, I don't have a habit, which is all true. But you don't feel liver being damaged. You only start feeling it when you are in the last terminal stages of liver damage. And this is tragic, because when we're at those last stages of liver damage, it is end stage of organ failure. We cannot no longer reverse it, and death follows, and it's a nasty death. So we do need to take the alcohol much more seriously than we do as a society. It is an accepted drug, but actually, and of course it's also linked with Alzheimer's. It is linked with increased risk of all cancers. Yeah, it is linked with high blood pressure, heart attacks and strokes. It is linked with everything. But I of course totally understand why people drink it, but just know what it does to your liver in this instance. The other ways of damaging liver are drugs. So, or some of the drugs we prescribe as doctors are pretty toxic to the liver, and this is why we monitor your blood once a year, once every 3 months, depends on the drug. So liver can suffer in that way. The other ways of damaging our livers, obviously there are viruses like hepatitis, etc. I think that's a separate video. But now let us talk about what we can do to keep our livers healthy. So just using logic, you already understand that drinking or not drinking at all, drinking less alcohol or not drinking at all is a big step in keeping our livers healthy. Then we have avoiding weight gain, and this is of course chicken and an egg, because it takes will forces to avoid weight gain, and will forces suffer when our liver is not healthy. So it's a vicious cycle. But I will then later come to some anthroposophic exercises for the training of the will, which is directly linked with the health of the liver. I was going to also say that when your doctor prescribes you any medication, be always very careful. Ask several questions. One is, what is my alternative? What can I do lifestyle-wise? Can I do something lifestyle-wise instead of taking this medication? There are usually some things you can do. And the second question is, okay, I will start this medication, but can I do something lifestyle-wise to improve the situation, and then maybe I can come off this medication? And also ask about the side effects and what organs it's going to damage, because none of the medications that we prescribe is harmless, unfortunately. Nothing. Paracetamol probably is the least harmful, but as you know, talking about paracetamol, it is terribly toxic to the liver in overdose. So it is one of the most, it's a very bad drug to overdose on. It's not a joke. It really, in overdose, it damages the liver. I would never recommend it. I mean, you know what I mean. It is not a joke. Paracetamol is actually one of the other causes of liver failure. And I have already told you what happens in liver failure in brief. So why don't we now talk about few anthroposophic exercises that help us break that vicious cycle of not having enough will forces to look after our liver properly, and liver being the seat of the will forces, not being able to supply us with enough power of the will to stop our damaging behaviors, like health damaging behaviors. So this is why I say it is a vicious cycle. So I'm going to give you some examples of the exercises. And of course, with these exercises, you have to just do them over a prolonged period of time, if not lifelong. I think they're meant to be lifelong exercises to build that strength of the will. The first exercise, in my opinion, is the most difficult one. And that is foregoing a desire. So something that would be nice to do, but also it would not cause any harm to anyone if you leave it undone. And my examples come from food and from shopping areas of my life. So for example, I could always leave a piece of chocolate uneaten, although it would be nice to eat it. And I could always leave an item without buying it, but of course it would be nice to buy it. So these are my examples, and you immediately know what I mean. So foregoing those desires, if we can do it systematically, this builds our forces of the will, it strengthens our will forces, and hence in long term it increases our vitality and it makes our liver healthy. And in turn, because we have more willpower, we can directly avoid the health damaging behaviors such as drinking alcohol, for example, or gaining weight. So exercise number 2 is to do something during the day at a certain specific time that you predetermined earlier. Do an action that is not serving any particular external purpose. So for example, you can see somebody opening and closing your window at 3 o'clock every day, and there's no particular reason why they should be doing it, but they're doing it to train their will forces. And of course what that does, it forms a new habit, and once you have formed that new habit, you remember every day to do that activity without being prompted by your alarm clock, because that is completely different. That doesn't really work. That doesn't train your will. Then you will have formed a new habit, and once you have done it, then you can drop it and set up a new time with a new activity and create a new habit over a period of time that trains our will forces. So, and the third and most important, perhaps, exercise for our will is having an intention and being clear about what our intention is. I don't know if you find it a difficult concept, but it's basically to do with why we're here. So we can have intentions on all different levels. We can have an intention for our entire life. Like, for example, somebody can feel it is their purpose to make a certain scientific discovery, and they give their entire life to that scientific research and work. Somebody else would be reforming agriculture in a country. For example, this is just my imaginary thoughts. There's also intention for a project, which I'm sure you're more familiar with through work. There's also intention for a day. And intention for a day could be to have a good rest. It's fine as long as it's a conscious intention. So we have to set ourselves intention and follow it through. This is another exercise in itself. So following through on our intentions and the decisions that we have made strengthens our will greatly, and hence it increases the vitality of our etheric body, and it is good for our liver. So I hope it all makes sense. If you want to ask me questions, just send me an email. I'm sending you all lots of love. Till the next video. Bye.